New Zealand lies in the southwest Pacific, the greatest of the world's oceans, which covers almost a third of the Earth's surface. The tourist potential of New Zealand lies particularly in its untouched nature, the variety of which extends from great mountains with glaciers to tropical beaches of the Southern Sea. Morning in Auckland. The obelisk at One Tree Hill in the south of the city is dedicated to the Aborigines, the Maoris. It rises up to the sky as a symbol of peace for the future between the European and Polynesian nations. Former tradesman John Logan Campbell dedicated this memorial to the residents of Auckland, together with his sheep farm as a place for rest. And the residents think much of this present even today, after nearly 100 years. As early as 6 o'clock in the morning, the sporty residents of New Zealand are jogging along the foothills of a volcano. Auckland was named after Lord Auckland, who was the commandant for the first governor of New Zealand. In Maori language, this city is called Tamaki Mako Rau, the city of 100 lovers. Meanwhile, the Sky Tower became the symbol of this New Zealand city. However, this lookout tower has great competition. There are high glassy palaces standing close by each other in the city centre. In this modern metropolis there are almost 1.5 million inhabitants. That is almost a half of New Zealand's population. The population of Auckland is mixed from different nations. Beside the national majority of European origin, there are many Maoris, as well as immigrants mainly from the Pacific Islands and from East Asia. Kiwis, as the islanders call themselves, acknowledge the newest trends and they always stand on the top. A lukewarm taste of Western lifestyle is typical. Thus, some tourists will understand why Europeans consider this island the last country at the end of the world. The most beautiful corner of the world is surrounded by water, and this is used above all by the Auckland residents. 1 in 4 of them is an owner of a sailboat. There is always something happening in the sailboat docks. The great number of shops, restaurants and cafes are an enticement for Kiwis and tourists. During weekends there are crowds of inquisitives flowing through the promenades. 80,000 sailboats arrive and anchor at the City of Sails dockside. It is the art of conducting a boat and at the same time making use of wind power. Even if you do not master this art, you can watch the skyline in the water. Captain Chris, New Zealanders always call themselves by first name only, has already travelled around half of the world.
I've always been out on the water since I was about 6 or 7 years old. Most Kiwis around New Zealand, because there's a lot of water around us all the time, there's sea scouts and you start sailing and being on boats from about 5 or 6 years old anyway. So yeah, I've been on the water all my life, and I've been different places around New Zealand working, mainly around the Auckland area, but so we go anywhere from North Cape to East Cape, and yeah, just love doing it really.
During the America's Cup, the dockside is a meeting point for the richest people in the world. This top sailing event entices the wealthiest sponsors and the best sailors of the Southern Hemisphere.
Getting right close up to their boats. We've also got another boat that we run as well, which takes the media around, and they can get really right up very close on the action, pretty much touching the boats. And yeah, it is quite exciting when you're in that close to them.
On your visit to the Kelly Tarleton's underwater world, you can see what happens under the water even without diving. First of all, you take a train among the penguins to the world of ice and cold. These joyful animals, grandmasters of swimming, cannot fly. They live in the south of New Zealand. After the trip to the Antarctic world, you will see in the museum also other water animals from warmer territories. Only animals from the coast waters of New Zealand swim in the aquaria, and there are so many of them. Over 1,000 types of sea creatures glint in different tinges in the water. Seahorses, crabs and starfish, fish, eels and moray eels. Unknown creatures are swimming at arm's length. This unusual experience is supposed to show to the spectators the jewels of the sea. Pollution and destruction of the sea is an important topic also in New Zealand. Through the Perspex tunnel, the spectator can gaze into the sea depths. Sharks and rays are swimming over his head. Only a centimetre layer of plastic isolates the visitors from these respectful animals. Rotorua is situated in the heart of North Island, just 3 hours by car from Auckland. Everywhere around the Maori castle it is possible to smell sulphur. The reasons for this are thermal springs, geysers and healing sulphur baths. These attract Europeans also. In the 19th century they founded a spa in Rotorua. The government garden is also beautifully maintained. Wherever you start to sink a well, the spring gushes out from the ground. Almost every hotel has in its garden a thermal spring, a pool. If you make your way through the park, you will get to a historical Maori village, Ohinamutu. Instead of a greeting, they lay a twig at the foreigner's feet. In token of friendship, the foreigner must raise the twig from the ground. The guest is welcomed with a hongi greeting and let into the assembly house of the Maoris, called marae. Maori music and dance shows an evidence of a cultural affinity to other islands lying in the Pacific. Masks and painted faces were once meant to discourage and even intimidate an enemy. Today, even the Maoris themselves and their viewers laugh at them. The original population used to live in tribes under the rule of a headman until the 19th century. The war dances remind us of a rivalry between individual tribes. The rebuilt Maori village illustrates how the Polynesian nations used to live together in tribes. Maori wood carving is considered the height of culture. The traditional carving school is situated in Rotorua. The entrance exam to this school is very strict. The most important prerequisite is talent. Furthermore, the pupil must not be older than 30 and women are not allowed. Wood carving is very highly valued. A masterpiece can cost several thousand euros. Maoris are known throughout the world, especially thanks to the traditional art of carving. You could admire it at many places in New Zealand, but you can also see directly how such pieces originate. Maori artists decorate their assembly houses with various spiral designs and figures, which symbolise the famed ancestors. The central motive of the Maori carving workshops is a human figure with a very big head, eyes and mouth, but also a man with a bird's head. Maori houses symbolise the body of an ancestor. The one who enters his ancestor's body takes off his shoes in deference to him. Maori Patrick Tamati likes to share his knowledge about his nation with the incoming guests.
The houses behind me are houses that have been made from traditional native timber and traditional bush. The houses which you will see later on are houses which have been made that have been adapted from these particular houses. They're more modern day houses using glass and nails. This has only come about because of the arrival of European people and the missionaries bringing modern day materials to build those particular houses.
Hot mud springs still rise and seethe from inside of the ground. The Maoris use this ancient power for their culinary art.
Behind me is the geothermal valley of Te Whakarewarewatānga Aotearoa Awahiao. Inside this geothermal valley we use the hot water for cooking, and we also use the steam to be able to steam food as well and to cook it as well.
The land of New Zealand is living constantly and is in continuous motion. A journey through the North Island will surprise you with the diversity of countryside, which gives almost a mystical impression. Untouched nature, this is the catchword of the islanders, and there are many reasons for this. There are 10 times more sheep than people in New Zealand. The wool is one of the most important export commodities. After Australia and China, New Zealand is the third biggest producer of wool in the world, and the farms are located all around the island. Sheep shearing can only be managed by an experienced farmer. In one day, he sets free up to 350 sheep from their thick wool layer.
Now, farming life is very rewarding. You're dealing with the birth of beautiful young lambs right through to processing them. You're seeing them grow up and you're outdoors. Although it's raining now, it is lovely to be outside, not stuck in an office somewhere.
Besides farmers, dogs also have to master their skill. This can only be done with regular training. Further on, you will get to the biggest of New Zealand's lakes. Lake Taupo. Thousands of years ago, volcanic eruptions created a lake. High above its turquoise-coloured water, the daredevils tethered on a rope swoop down headlong to the depths. Bungee jumping is a New Zealand discovery. In order to set the right length of a rope, the bungee jumper must be weighted first. H2O means that the jumper wants to dip his head in the water during his jump. Everything is checked once again before the big plunge. Are all the pockets empty? The view from up here is amazing, yet just a mere glimpse of the depth below may intimidate some observers. After bands are fixed to the legs and the equipment is double-checked for the last time, the only thing that is missing is the determination to perform the act itself. A lot of entertainment, a lot of fun. Even for the organisers, there is often a reason to laugh.
We have some funny things. People will jump, they have false teeth. They're meant to take them out, but they've fallen in the river. We have to go and get divers to come, and car keys, they forget. You know, we say, have you anything in your pockets? No. They jump and they lose their things, but we get people to come and rescue them from the river. It's pretty deep down there.
Sport has great importance on this island. The next discovery of the Kiwis was the jet boat ride. This kind of turbo drive craft can ride in shallow water as well. But you shouldn't go to New Zealand without making use of all the possibilities of these high-speed craft. The boat quickly breaks its way over the Waikato River. At this speed, the jet boat driver has to know how to react quickly.
We have to do 120 hours training in the boat before we're allowed to commercially drive any passengers, and it's likened to driving a boat on or a car on ice, and I really love my job out here. Perfect weather, great job.
In this country of sport, the extreme sport activities are combined with relaxation and rest. Wairaka'i belongs amongst the most exclusive places in the world where golf is played. The course extends into the countryside created by the volcano. Professionals are delighted with natural obstacles. The difficulty factor? Very high. A few years ago, this double island was appreciated as a hidden golf destination, and it was awarded an international prize. Golf is ranked amongst the national sports in New Zealand. This noble kind of sport exercised by soft pushes of a golf club is easily accessible here. Romantic travel begins. On the way to Tongariro Park, one of the first national parks in the world, the Taupo Lake entices one to rest. In September, the spring begins in New Zealand. Everything is awakening to life. The lake lies on the foothills of 3 volcanoes, Tongariro, Ungaruhua and Ruapehu. The untouched nature keeps one fascinated, and a ride through the countryside of this island is reminiscent rather of an expedition or of a trip of discovery. Life starts here, on the edge of Tonga National Park, far from the mass tourism and lots of busy streets. The proximity of nature is best experienced if you stay overnight in a bed and breakfast hotel. For instance, the hotel of Devin and Peter. They both used to live in Auckland. Now they both signed on for trout fishing, hunting and hiking. In short, for a life in the country. They also offer to their guests the possibility to participate in these activities. They can accommodate up to 8 persons at once. Roe deer graze outside. Devin is the only one who can feed them. Secret hiking destinations with tips from informed people can be found without problems, even by a foreigner.
The guests here can experience, apart from the animals here, the deer, the bushwalks, the Tongariro National Park, and we also have the kiwi encounters, where they can go into the national park at night and actually see a kiwi in its wild and natural habitat.
A serpentine road will take us to Aotearoa. Colourful terraces containing silicon oxide, waterfalls and hot champagne pools. Deep craters will remind us how life originated millions of years ago. Up to 74-degree hot springs bubble under a thin layer of ground. Nowhere in the world can a man come closer to the origin of the Earth. A narrow footpath leads us over basins where red-hot stones are glowing. Devil's Ink Pot or Artist's Palette. So pictorially these hot springs are named. Tourist trails on the foothills of 3 volcanoes will always give you new impressions. In the territory of the Silica Rapids walks, the volcanoes created a prairie. Volcanic land is rich in minerals and very fruitful. During walks, you will always see some new plants which subjugated the poor surrounding environment. Arctic beeches, fern, kauri trees or flicks survive volcanic eruptions. In 1996, Ruapehu flushed the landscape with its acid lava for the last time. If you have good shoes, the trails are not a problem for you. You will be rewarded with some unusual natural phenomena. For a jeep, the gravelly surface of the road to Whanganui River is no obstacle. In the travel program called Hike and Drive, the tourist is allowed to travel for 3 weeks according to the detailed road plan through the wilderness. But finally, the adventurer will only get to New Zealand's bush by waterway. Joe, a deep-rooted bushman, arrives in a jet boat to pick up his guest's luggage. He rides half an hour upstream through the jungle. Only through the river can he get to his house in the middle of Wanganui National Park.
This place is paradise. Look around. Look at what you've seen today. It's just a very nice place. There's not a lot of people come here. We can control the amount of people that do come up here, basically because the river is the only exit. It's the only way in. You can't come up here. You can't drive into this place. You can come in by helicopter. So not a lot of people can come up and see you, especially your mother-in-law. You can keep her away.
In the Ramanui house, up to 14 guests can stay overnight for lodging and boarding. From as early as 6 o'clock in the morning, the nature offers literally a breathtaking spectacle. Early in the morning, the voracious pigs of Mandy and Joe prance about in front of the veranda. Wild horses run about on the lawn. The nature is truly beautiful here, but if you want to live here, you need a fair amount of courage. This area is called rough country by New Zealanders. Steep Rockies, where you can only get to on foot or by boat, a man has to take care of himself alone here. A roe hunt seems at first sight a bit drastic. However, only such an amount that can be consumed is shot. On our bushwalk, we go ahead downstream. The tree fern is ranked amongst the typical New Zealand plants. Only one who gives enough time for a browse through the landscape will discover the hidden beauty among ferns and trees growing in a swamp. New Zealand wilderness. It meant an obstruction for the immigrants. The bridge to nowhere reminds us of the times when the settlers wanted to settle the bush. Road constructions across the thicket were expensive. Before the British state offered financial support, the settlers left the wilderness. The only thing that stayed here was the bridge, ending in nowhere, rather like the stock raising of the immigrants. For the settlers, it meant financial destruction. In the untouched nature, it is possible to see the fern leaves shortly before the unfoldment, a symbol of life emergence in the Maori culture. And if you are lucky, you can even see a kiwi here, the indigenous bird with no wings. New Zealand is a birdlife paradise. Before we set out on our way back to Auckland, we dedicate one more site to the sea, just outside the metropolis Muriwai Beach. The last sunset, the last breakfast in the seaport before you get back on your way to your remote homeland. The beauty of landscape and friendliness, helpfulness and hospitality of the Kiwis will facilitate any acclimatization in this foreign country. God Zone. This is how New Zealanders call their country. No Kiwi can dismiss the deep-rooted conviction of living in a promised land belonging to the gods. And the one who knows this country will definitely agree with this opinion, at least partially.